Okay, so in this video we're going to document more about the green turbo KEI truck's electrical issue. Now, I sprayed rust remover, which did an excellent job of inhibiting and halting the rust, and it put a nice wet layer and moisturized the hoses and moisturized most of the mechanical. However, after applying that rust remover with the air compressor, I couldn't start the car, and I checked the ignition coil, which is that little box right there, and I was only getting 9 volts when the battery was showing 12 volts. So there was a grounding or issue, and there's a resistance problem in the grounding. And what I found as I looked more was that there was these wires connecting just an arbitrary piece of the engine to the body. So yes, this previously was suffering from bad grounding. And then I looked deeper into the wiring, and I found these 2 cables right here just cut, terminated, hanging in midair. And I followed those back, and those are the main battery, positive and negative. And those are the original. They're in the harness. And those are nice wires. Now I'm wondering, why are they not using the nice wires to go to the battery, which is over there. And then you can see that red wire back there. That goes to the starter. And then they have the negative cable from the battery over here, and it's attached to the turbo, which is hard to see right now. It's actually, it is visible right there though. You see that wire right there? That's attached to the turbo exhaust, and you can see that that cable is melting. So first place to attach a grounding wire to a searing hot piece of machinery. So that's definitely going to be remedied. But I think also by applying this acidic chemical, I think I turned my whole entire car into one big battery by doing that. And I also went through more electronics. I found out, I actually drew a little diagram. Here I found that that's the ECU, and there's some other cool, the main 2 big fuses, the 60 amp and the 40 amp fuses are in there. I also went through the harness over here underneath the dash, and I found the ignition relay, which seems okay. So it's really ugly and sloppy here, because what happens is these cars were reconverted into left-hand drive. In Japan they were right-hand drives, so that really, took a notch out of their integrity, because everything is flipped over, and so it's not stock original factory fitment. And so that's one thing. Here's my diagram I drew last night. Just basic diagram, just to orient myself. We have the alternator, we have the mass airflow sensor, we have the 3 injectors. They're going into the harness, all going into the same harness. We have the coil, ignition coil, going into the same harness. And then we have the starter, which has 2 sets of cables on it. Or I'm sorry, it has 2 cables on the starter. One that just terminates, and then the other one that goes to the battery. And then on the body, I found the original grounding for the battery that also just terminates. And then I also saw the negative that goes to the turbo. That's the killer. That's why we're having negative issues. And then there's the main fuses. There's an ECU near the fuses, And then there's also a fuse box under the dash that has your basic components there. And then there's the ignition relay. And here's a close-up of the ignition relay, and I labeled everything, and it looks okay. They're nice Bosch fuses, so that should be okay. So my remedy at this moment is I'm going to now apply with the pressure washer gasoline with a little bit of 2-stroke engine oil in it to knock off the salty solution, not the salty, acidic solution of the rust remover, and to leave a little film of just lubricating oil, real oil, because I think I need to knock that off, because that did cause trouble. I think it cleaned and did good, but it also turned the car into a battery. All right, let's apply this stuff.